Hi, and thanks so much for joining me for my summer luxury beauty favorites. If you'd like to see that, please keep watching. Welcome back to those of you who are returning, and a special welcome to those of you who are here from Allison's, Abby's, or Angela's channels. Thank you so much for heading over. Today we are talking about our summer luxury beauty favorites, and this is in collaboration with all of the lovely content creators I just mentioned. What was so exciting about this one is that we truly collaborated before we decided on what we were doing with our video. So if you are not a content creator or make YouTube videos, sometimes when you collaborate with someone, it's usually over some kind of messaging and you're just going back and forth messaging each other. But in this case, we wanted to put our minds together and have a discussion about what we wanted to do. So we decided to have a Zoom meeting, and that was really exciting because I've never actually met them before. Out of all the amazing people out there on YouTube and Instagram, I do communicate with these three particular lovely ladies the most. So it's quite frequent, and I feel like I know them on a very personal level at this point. So I will share a little bit about them personally, not personal details, but things that you might not know just from watching their videos. Back to the collaboration though, we met on Zoom, we talked for about an hour and a half, and it was really fun because I think with YouTube, you feel like you know the person from watching so many hours of videos of them. So when we met, it was like we had already known each other. It wasn't awkward or anything like that, but you actually got to interact, and I think that they all are just how you would imagine them to be. So they are all wonderful, and I'm sure you already all follow all of them because we do feature very similar, if not the same products. But what I think is great about that is that you get to see the products on different skin tones, different skin types, and different ages. So I think that if you get some reference points, it helps make better decisions. So it was really fun, about hour and a half, where we just chatted and really came up with this idea together. And we wanted to really do something that would help viewers. So we wanted to think of like, what were the things that we really ended up loving over the summer, or not over the summer, but things that we have either acquired. I'm going to say acquired because some of these things were gifted to me. So purchased or acquired or received between May and August. At first we talked about summer collections, but then that was like, I honestly didn't know which ones were summer collections. So we talked about what was acquired during that time span. So these are things that have become part of my regular routine and things I would highly recommend to you. So I'm really interested to see theirs and see how much overlap we have. I think that will be the most interesting thing, to see what we have similar on our lists. But back to each person. So I already know that you know they love luxury beauty. So as for Angela, on a more personal level that you might not get from her video, is that she is so thoughtful. Anytime she sees something in the news that might be in my area, she is messaging me, asking if I'm okay, how am I doing? And not only is it some news event that will prompt that, just every once in a while she will check in. How are you doing? And it's one of those questions that's not just like, how are you doing to ask the question? She really wants to know. So then we'll go back and forth. And that's why I feel like I know her quite well, because our conversations are beyond beauty and makeup. It really is about what's going on in our lives. So I truly appreciate that about Angela. So that is the one thing I think you might not get from her videos. You might get that, but that is really something that sticks out in my mind. By the way, she's also very passionate about not just YouTube, but her blog. So she does have a blog that she spends a lot of time on, a lot of thought. And so I would love it if you would head over and support her blog as well. I will list it below. But she is very, very passionate about that. On to Allison. When I think of her, I think of generous. She is very generous with her time and her information. So some of you may know that she really helped me out on that Chanel foundation selection, and it was not an easy thing to do. We've never met face to face, so she doesn't really know what my skin tone looks like except for on videos. So she asked me lots of in-depth questions about my coloring, what foundations I already use, and I know she spent a lot of time researching that, and she did such an excellent job. So she didn't need to spend that kind of time trying to help me, but she is so knowledgeable anyway, but she did put that time in to help me out. So she's always very happy to do what she can, because I know that takes a lot of time and research to do that. So Speaking about research, though, she does research her beauty history videos. I know I mentioned that before, but there's so much work that goes behind that. That's what she's got a special passion for on her channel. So please make sure to go and see those. I love to put it on while I'm putting on my makeup because I can listen and also see what she's doing. So if you're looking for something where you don't have to, because they're quite lengthy, but they're very in-depth. So I think that's a great one to turn on while you're doing your own makeup. But yeah, I've learned so much from that. And then Abby. So something you might not know about Abby just from watching her videos, or maybe you do, is that she's funny. So whenever she and I go back and forth with our messaging, I'm always laughing. She's just so kind-spirited. Love that about her. So I think you get that positive vibe for sure on her videos, but she's someone where we'll be going back and forth. There was one time we were going back and forth and I thought, let me just call you. So we had the most fun conversation. I think you do get that sense that she's really easy to get along with and just, she's funny. Yeah, so I just love all of them and so happy to do this, and I thought it was a really great idea. So what we're going to do is talk about all of my favorites. I have a lot, so I'm going to try to talk a little bit faster. And if you have questions, just let me know. I will provide the information below. But let's go ahead and just get started, and please make sure to see their videos. Oh, I also forgot. Before I forget, there's two things. Allison, she has also her own beauty consultation business where she can meet with you one-on-one virtually. And she can talk to you about skincare, makeup application, those kinds of things. And obviously she knows a lot about color selection. So please make sure to see her. She has a lot of knowledge and expertise. And Abby has something called Blissfully Fed. It is let me do this correctly, a seasonal eating program. She is a holistic health coach as well. So I would love to sign up for that. So Abby, I know I've said it before, but I need to sign up for that because I do love to maximize the food I eat and make sure that I'm getting the most out of the food in terms of nutrients. So she does offer that program as well. So make sure to check that out if you're interested. Please make sure you see their videos after this, but let's go ahead and just jump right in after about 10 minutes of talking. Okay, so let's start out with this product. It is by Chantecaille. It is the Pure Rosewater Rose de May. And this is a very special water. It looks just like water, but this is a very special kind of rose. It's only harvested 2 weeks out of the year in the south of France. It has vitamin C and it can also help with things like redness. It's very refreshing. I start my day off with this as well as end my day with this. And if in the middle of the day I need a little refresher, I will spritz this on my face. So that's definitely become quite a favorite. That was gifted to me. I'll try to call out the things that were gifted versus things I purchased. I'll try and mark it below as well. This is the Brightening Essence by Chantecaille, and those of you who have been here a while know I have used Clé de Peau for a long time. So I've been testing this side by side, and it has just as beautiful results as the Clé de Peau. So if you are interested in the Chantecaille ingredients, which many people are, they are interested in Chantecaille because of the ingredients they use. This is lovely and also effective. I'm just realizing now that I am converting to a lot of Chantecaille skincare as I talk through these. So this is the Nano Gold Energizing Eye Serum. I love this for under the eyes, especially for depuffing. So I use this evening, and in the morning it has a little rollerball applicator. It's very cooling on the eyes. And then I follow up also with this Stress Repair Concentrate. I apply it with the little metallic or metal, I don't know where it went, applicator, and it's also very soothing. I use this for depuffing, and I know that it addresses things like fine lines. So those have definitely become part of my routine. And then I've got the BioLifting Oil-Free Fluid, which is nice and lightweight for hot and humid climates. Sometimes when you put moisturizer on, it's very heavy and it feels kind of greasy, but this is not like that. This is actually for hot and humid climates as well as more oily skin types. But what this does, it says it's a supercharged treatment rich in a powerful combination of plant stem cell extracts and peptides that visibly lift, reshape, and plump skin's appearance. So I really like that because I've said it before, I don't do anything invasive to my skin, but anything topical I will try. So I've been incorporating that and loving it. This is the Ultra Sun Protection Sunscreen, Chantecaille SPF 45. This is a new thing that I love, but I wear it every day, every day. It's a nice fluid kind of consistency, really easy to wear with the various kinds of foundations. But nothing has interacted in a strange way with that sunscreen. And then I've got skin tint. So this is my daily skin tint. It's the Just Skin Tinted Moisturizer. This is in tan, but I love mixing it with this. So this one was gifted to me. It's a Radiance Elixir. There's a bit of luminosity. There's a bit of luminosity in here, so it gives a beautiful glow to the skin. And this is a little bit cool for me, so this adds just the nicest kind of balance for me. So it does end up looking just like skin on me. So I love that combination. Okay, and that is it for Chantecaille, right? I think that's it for Chantecaille. Then I've got a couple of other things in terms of SPF. Well, no, not SPF, but I have something in terms of SPF. I do love this Sisley Paris. I've talked about this before, that it's kind of a funny product because it's something that you would think this is terrible. It's not though. You just have to work this in. And I've used this much. That's how much I've used it this summer. And what I love the most about this is that it doesn't move. So if you are in a hot climate, humid climate, or swimming, this doesn't come off until I wash it off. And so I love the staying power. And I know that it's in place because it has some color to it. So you can see versus something like translucent, sometimes you can't tell if the sunscreen's still there. You can tell. And so there's some coverage with this as well. So had I gone on a summer vacation, this would have been my daytime makeup. Would have worn this in the day, probably would have put like a sunscreen blush and then followed up with a sunscreen powder. That's probably how I would have worn it for the daytime. And then I would go back to the hotel and then I would wash my face and then go in with this, which is the Charlotte Tilbury Multi-Miracle Glow Cleanser Mask and Balm for Baby Soft Skin. So this would be like a placeholder, and I love this for, I really don't cleanse. I feel like it's too fancy to cleanse with it, but I will use it between like swimming. So I've done a lot of swimming this summer, but your skin gets dried out from the chlorine. So this is a nice kind of conditioning treatment after that. So I would do that before my nighttime routine as well. So swim, clean my face, put this on for a few hours, then nighttime skincare routine. Also, my skin's been very dry lately, so I will use this to seal everything in after my nighttime routine, kind of as an overnight mask. It's very multi-purpose for me. I love this. And then let's move on to concealer. I do have a favorite. Not a surprise though, it's the Sisley Under Eye Concealer in 4. I have it on now. It's just such an easy one to use. It looks like skin. I don't powder to set this, and I know that many of you who purchased this because you saw it in action here or maybe somewhere else love it too. So I understand why it's beautiful. So I am loving this a lot. It has replaced my Clé de Peau under the eye. I did use the Clé de Peau, the stick concealer under my eyes, but I don't do that anymore. I use this instead, and it's much better for the under eye area, at least for me. Okay, and I forgot, I don't know where it went. I knew I forgot something, so I'm going to have to put a picture of it here. I'll just insert the picture. So in terms of a primer, what I've been loving for a primer is not like a typical primer, like a cream or anything. It's the Sisley powder, the blur powder. I've been using it under my foundation. I tried something, I'm not quite sure that worked today, but I put my concealer on first, Clé de Peau. Then I put the foundation, the Sisley powder. Okay, start over. So I put on the concealer first, and then I put on the Sisley blur powder, and then I went in with foundation. So the Sisley has a little bit of a tone that's not right for me. Still can't figure out. It's either too olive or too cool. One of those. It's just not warm enough or doesn't have enough life for my skin. But I love this one, Future Skin in Cream. This is not a new product to me, but the shade is new to me. So I love this so much more than the other one that I had. I can't remember what, I think it was Shea. Yeah, this is a much better one than Shea because it really livens up my skin. I have that on now too. So I tried to put on as much as I could so you could see it in action. I do have the concealer on. I've got the Sisley blur powder on. I've got this foundation on. When it comes to bronzer, I'm going to do a whole bronzer rundown, but the one that is the most natural everyday bronzer for me, trying not to drop everything, is this bronzer by Chantecaille. This one I purchased. Yeah, I purchased this. And it's in Serena. So I've had questions about what's better for me based on my skin tone. If you're like me, Serena is better, but I will, like I said, do swatches side by side of the bronzers that I have so you can see the difference. But this is the one I have on now because it's just such a nice natural looking bronzer. It's not too much, but it just warms up the complexion a little bit. Yeah, so I love that for the perimeter of my face, and it doesn't look powdery, and I love that about it. As for powders, I have a few here. I've got the Gucci powder. I love it. I know it's a little bit hard to get a hold of, but it has been the one I've been pulling for. I think Harrods may still have it. It's in the shade 5 though, so that's also tricky. Finding the shades has been really difficult because their swatches are not great, but there are more people posting videos, so that helps. So I am shade 5. It's just a really nice standard powder that does a good job of setting and has a little bit of warmth in the color, as you know I love. So it doesn't like dull my skin. It actually makes it look a little bit more lively. I use that a lot for my skin. I don't know if that's a descriptor for that, but that's what I feel like when I find the right combination. It just brings life to my skin because it can tend to go dull if there's too much cool or too much olive. Another setting powder, which is not a new thing, but the shade is new to me. It's in 1. So I originally purchased this for under the eye area, but now I don't set under my eyes because of this concealer, but I do use it to set my face. And it looks like it's too light for that, but 2 actually does add a little bit more color to my face, and this one doesn't do that. It adds a little bit of warmth actually, so it's not totally translucent, but it does a really nice job of setting. It's just a beautiful powder if you've never tried it. On to another powder that I use daily, almost daily. It's more for color correcting than anything else. It's the By Terry Hyaluronic Tinted Hydra Powder, and this is in light apricot. So if this is a little too intense for you, what I have done before is I've mixed it in with another loose powder that's either translucent or the La Mer has a little bit of shimmer in it, so that lightens it up a little bit as well. And I've been mixing it recently with the Clé de Peau, that one. So if it is just a tad too, because it is very rich for something called light apricot. I don't think it's that light. Yeah, so interesting. But I love it for right here. I didn't use it today, but I will use it up here to color correct after the fact. If when I go in and powder, it's still, like you can still see darkness, I'll go in with this one. Now on to some of my favorite things. Blush, and I think you probably already know what I have in my hands here. We have the, I'm going to give you a second to guess. It is the Chantecaille Manta Ray. This is my, like the blush of the summer for me, and I think for a lot of people. So I'm interested to see if everyone has this one in theirs, because I don't know anyone who doesn't love this. There might be someone, but most people love it. So I have mine in Manta Ray, and I love it because it's got some warmth to it, but there's also quite a bit of pink. So it's not like an orangey coral color. It's just very radiant, and I love it. It's a flush of color. It's so pretty. I don't love the highlighter in here though, but I do love the highlighter here in Whale Shark. So I'm glad I picked this up. I really don't pull for this blush that much. It's okay. I mean, not for me, but I think on cooler skin tones, really pretty. But this highlighter is stunning. So this is the most beautiful powder highlighter I've used. It reminds me a lot of the Charlotte Tilbury, that liquid one with a little sponge end on it. The way that it looks like it was applied as a liquid. That's how beautiful and even it is. And the fact that you don't see there are no visible individual particles on this. So there's a little hair though. Yeah, there are no visible individual particles on this. You just get a glow. And that's what I think is so special about this highlighter. It is so pretty. And I don't really love highlighter because you can typically see more texture on my skin when I put highlighter on. So I love this one. Oh, where did it go? Lost my train of thought. Okay, the Tom Ford blush is my other one in Inhibition. And I've asked you, should I get other ones? And you gave me a few suggestions, but it really sounds like if you're going to get one blush from Tom Ford, this is the one to get, and I can see why. I do have a little bit of it in the front here as well. I love it for color correcting the front, so I love sweeping it like this. So I went in with Manta Ray first, and then I put a little bit of the Tom Ford on top of that. So pretty. Some eye things here. I have been using this Veil eye primer from Hourglass. It's really lovely. I've been going up above my crease with eyeshadow. It's like, what am I going above my crease with? And that really helps to even out the canvas, so to speak, and it gets it prepared so that you can put on that powder and it goes on evenly. And then for my eyeshadow palettes, of course, I have the Wayne Goss palette. It was kindly gifted to me by Beautylish Wayne Goss. So I love this. I pull for it a lot. You can see I've started to really get into these. Now today I do have this shade, and this shade on. No, wait. I have this shade. Oh yes, and this shade. Is that what I said? Okay, those three. So I have those on today, but you can do so much with this palette. In fact, I want to do a more autumn look with this one. I think that will be so pretty. And then the other one that I have, and I realize I don't have a whole bunch of eyeshadow palettes. I feel like I have a lot of concealers, foundations, powders. That's kind of what I like to experiment with and look for the next best product. And then also some blushes. I love blushes too. Here's an eyeshadow palette that I think is a great basic, even though it's not like brown or gray or like a traditional neutral. It's the blurry green. It's so beautiful and still neutral, even though there's a little bit of color. But I especially love this one shade in here because it's a shimmery, like coppery gold. It is so pretty on, and I love it just on the lid mixed with other palettes. I like to use different palettes at the same time. So I do have something here. I don't know how it got lost in the shuffle, but it's the Le Beige Water Fresh Tint. And the reason I love this, I saw Abby wear it under foundation. It made her complexion just glow. Now I haven't tried it like that, but what I do love this for is to fix my makeup. So if you are like me and you have oil in the middle of your face, what happens throughout the day is makeup will kind of break apart and separate. And then you might have to do or feel compelled to do your makeup over if you have something later on. So this is great for that in-between time. So what I do with this is I take a little bit, put on my hand, and then I will place it where the makeup is falling apart. I'll start kind of mixing it together, and it gets a lot worse before it gets better. So if you try this, I would try it, just experiment without going anywhere yet. So what you do is just mix it together and it'll start to lift the makeup off. So you'll start to see your skin underneath. So it'll be like a whole circle of makeup missing. But just keep going and it will mix the colors together. It will mix everything there, like the powder, the concealer, the foundation, and become like, not a paste, but more like a foundation-y kind of consistency. And then you just pat it in and it somehow is magically put back together. So I don't know, I haven't done that just once. I've done that several times and I'm always amazed. So I use it as like a fix-it. So that's why I love this. But I mean, I love it on the skin anyway, but just, I don't have another product that does that. Okay, so more with eyes though. I think I picked this up in the time frame. Bon Agape by Chanel. I use it in the waterline almost every day, and I think almost in every video recently I've used it. It's just a pretty, like a lighter brown color, gives definition, but also a little bit of reflective quality, so the light bounces off of it, so it's not so harsh. So I really love that for the waterline, and it stays in place. So I still have to do my Chanel eyeliner video. I will do that. And then I've got the Wayne Goss eye kohl pencils, and these are true kohl, so I love that you can smudge these out. And I go with a really thin layer as soon as I work the eyeliner to where I want it to be, so that it's not moving around. So the thinner the layer, the more it stays in place for me, and I love that underneath the eyeshadow. So I will use the black one in the tight line, then I'll go above with the dark brown color right above the lash line, and then I will go in with, this one is something hazel, Precious Opal, not hazel, Precious Opal. I will take that and go in the waterline. So I love all three of those. I think that they are amazing kohls. This was kindly gifted to me, my Chantecaille. It is the mascara, the more expensive of the two that has the peptides in it. And I love it because you can put many layers on. I think I have about 3 or 4. And the first layer I put on this morning. And so it's like later in the evening now. So I went in and I applied like 3 more coats, and it doesn't clump or anything like that. I love it. Yeah, it looks really good. And I don't use a primer with this anymore. So for the cost of a primer and a mascara, I just use this. So I get to skip the primer part and just go in, and I love it. It just is the most beautiful mascara. You get really even application. I don't get flaking, smudging, anything like that. No clumping. It builds really, really well, especially if you're someone like me who likes to put on a lot of mascara. Then we've got some lipsticks. I love reds now. I didn't used to love reds, but this one's a great one. It's by Sisley. It's number 41. And what's great about this is that it doesn't have, it's not a blue-based red, but it's also not too warm either. So on my skin tone, this looks really pretty because it looks more red than anything else. So I love that one for a more vibrant red. Now this is a beautiful red as well. This is the Wonder Woman lipstick by House of Sillage. By the way, the formula is beautiful on these. Again, this does have some blue in it, but it just looks, it is stunning. And the formula is impeccable as well. Now this is a re-promoted color. I can't remember the color, but I will list it below because that means that you can get your hands on it, because this is limited edition packaging, the Wonder Woman. So you can still get your hands on the lipstick if you wanted just a lipstick and not the amazing, I mean, this packaging is amazing. I think this is their most amazing packaging that they've done so far. Really beautiful. And then I've got some Wayne Goss products here. I've got, I think this fell into that time frame. I hope it did. But I have it on now. It is Zinnia. This one right here. It's one of the richer of the lipsticks he came out with, as well as I have the lip gloss. I love putting this on top of other lipsticks as well as wearing it by itself. And this is in Cherry Blossom. So I love just placing it in the center. I think it looks so pretty. It provides just a little bit of color, a little bit of softness to the lips. We're almost done. And now it's gonna sound like a Wayne Goss brush commercial. So I have the hardest brushes. I love these. I use them every day. I mainly use these though. This one for loose powder, the larger one, and this one for blush, the medium one. And then I don't use this as much, but I did use it for highlighter today. Really pretty. I also do have his fan brush though, which is great for highlighter as well. If you're looking for one, either of those are beautiful. Then I have some game-changing eye brushes, the eye set, and I, as you can see, use all of them. They all have a purpose for me. They are all the right size for my eyes as well. So it has really made the biggest difference in terms of application to get brushes that are the correct size for me. And then we've got this Buff and Blur brush by Chantecaille. It's the softest buff brush, and I use it with the Hummingbird powder, of course, as well as other powders. It's just great for stamping on, which I do in the front here, and then I will buff out along the edges here. And then I have the airbrush, the bronzer brush by Charlotte Tilbury, and I love that to buff in as well. I won't necessarily, I don't know what I did with that brush. I won't necessarily apply with this. I'll go in with something more like targeted, like one of the Ray Morris brushes, but I'll go in and then buff it in so it has softer edges. I love that. And then we have this Shiseido brush. And I love this for polishing off any extra or excess powder, just to have as a final step to perfect. And I know that some of you let me know you use this for foundation. So I haven't tried that yet, but I'll try it when I'm willing to wash it really thoroughly, because it looks like you might have to work a little bit harder to clean this brush because it's densely packed, but it's really, really soft. But that is it for today's video, so I hope it wasn't too long. I have a feeling it's going to take a long time to edit this, but those are really things that have become part of my daily routine. I've had a lot of things that have substituted what I usually was using, so yeah, these are really things that I am using daily, if not almost daily, so I can definitely vouch for them. So let me know if you have any favorites in here that you recognize or things that you're using, and any favorites that you have, because I always love your recommendations. But that's it for today's video, so please take care of each other, stay well. And if you enjoyed this video, if you learned something, please give it a thumbs up, subscribe, and I'll see you next time. Thanks.